Commission meeting. My name is Scott Russ. I am the chairman that will be conducting tonight's Planning Commission meeting. We appreciate that each and every one of you has taken time from your busy schedules to either attend or view tonight's meeting to observe how our town government works. All Farragut Municipal Planning Commission meetings are public notice per Tennessee state law. All Planning Commission meetings are recorded and may be viewed live on Charter Cable Channel 193 and TDS Cable Channel 3, as well as on the Farragut YouTube channel, and links to the recordings may be found on the Town of Farragut website. Those of you in attendance should be able to pick up a copy of the agenda at the door when you came in tonight. If you're not able to attend in person and are viewing from home, you'll be able to see the agenda posted on the Town of Farragut website. For any persons in attendance who would like to address the Planning Commission concerning an item on tonight's agenda, please pick up a blue card at the door when you came in. Write your name, address, and the agenda item number that you wish to comment on, and present that to Mr. Shipley with the town staff. There will also be time reserved at the end of the business meeting for resident comments on non-agenda subjects, which also require that you fill out a blue card at the door and also place that with Mr. Shipley. To conduct efficient business-like meetings, the town has adopted rules for how its meetings will be conducted. Primarily, these rules are designed to keep meetings progressing along and assure that all points of view are heard and considered, and to provide common courtesy to everyone. We ask you to observe the established meeting rules when addressing members of the town, staff, or members of the Planning Commission. At the beginning of your presentation, please state your name, address for the record, and we ask that you address your questions to the chairman. If necessary, I may call on commissioners or staff members to address your questions or comments. Once you've given your input, please return to your seats. And we ask that persons speaking avoid the use of improper language, profanity, or other inappropriate conduct. And also, please only address the agenda issues. Speakers should strive to present original viewpoints and avoid redundancy. We ask that you also stay on topic for that specific agenda item. Everyone, please remember that we are here tonight doing the people's business, and it's a very important responsibility for all of us. Now, I ask that if you're able, would you please stand for a moment of silence, reflection, and prayer, followed by a recital of the Pledge of Allegiance to our country's flag, presented by Commissioner Green.
Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Green. Okay, before we move on to the approval of the agenda, I'd like to ask Mayor Williams if he has any announcements he would like to make at this time.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I do. We have a new commissioner join us tonight for his first meeting, and I'll let Jeff introduce himself.
Hi, folks. My name's Jeff Devlin. I've lived in the town since 2012, and my area of expertise is emergency services. I've been with Rural Metro Fire Department for 33 years. Prior to Municipal Planning Commission, I've served with Personnel Committee, Parks and Athletics Council, and Board of Zoning Appeals. I'm happy to be here. Hope everybody has a nice night.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. I'd just like to say it's been a privilege to get to know you and work with you on the Parks and Athletics Committee for the last several years, and I think you're going to be a very valuable asset to the town of Farragut as we move forward, and thank you for your service.
Thanks, Scott.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Williams. Moving on, approval of the agenda. Mark, I've established that there are 7 members present, and therefore we have a quorum for tonight's meeting. Absent are Commissioner Pinchuk and Commissioner Meyer.
Yes.
And are there any amendments to the agenda tonight?
There are no amendments to the agenda, and staff recommends approval of the agenda.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
All those in favor of approval say yes.
Yes.
Noes? No noes. Let the record show that the agenda as posted has been approved. Approval of minutes. Mark, are there any amendments to the minutes from the August 17th, 2023 Farragut Municipal Planning Commission meeting?
No, there are no amendments to the August 17,
Move for
2023
approval.
minutes.
Second.
All those in favor of approval say yes.
Yes.
Noes? Let the record show that the posted minutes from the August 17th, 2023 minutes have been approved by the Planning Commission. Tonight looks like we have 5 business items to review, discuss, and consider in our public meeting. And we'll kick it off with the first agenda item, which is number 3 on your Planning Commission agenda, and that is discussion and public hearing on a recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen concerning a traffic calming application on Sonia Drive in the Farragut View subdivision. Mark, would you please
Yeah, these
present?
next 2 items are going to be presented by Eric Schindler, who's the Assistant Town Engineer with the town, and I'll just turn it over to him to give you an overview of what's being requested, and
If you would, Mr. Schindler, please give us your name and your address, please.
Yes, my name's Eric Schindler. My address is 1020 Wilder Chapel Lane, Maryville, Tennessee, 37804.
Thank you, Eric.
So this first item discusses the installation of a set of 4 speed cushions on Sonia Drive on June 12th, 2023. The town of Farragut received a petition from the residents of the speed zone requesting reconsideration due to the May 11th update to the town of Farragut traffic calming policy. We had a 2022 speed study, and the results indicated excessive speeding, and excessive speeding is defined by an 85th percentile speed, which is greater than 10 miles an hour over the posted speed limit. At the 2 locations that that data was collected, 11019 Sonia Drive and 11200 Sonia Drive, the speeds, 85th percentile speeds, were 35.3 miles per hour and 38.7 miles per hour respectively, both over the 10 mile an hour threshold. We did hold another public meeting in July, on July 5th of 2023, to gauge support, obtain resident feedback. Residents in attendance were overwhelmingly in support of traffic calming measures being implemented. A total of 52 ballots were mailed out and 37 were received, with 30 of those, or 81.1%, being in favor of the installation of these traffic calming measures. Kind of hard to see on there, but the 4 locations that we are proposing installation of the traffic calming measures are 11306, 11214, 111134, and 11016 Sonia Drive. Due to the planned widening of the portion of Sonia Drive between Admiral Road and Dundee Road as part of the Sonia Drive and Admiral Road sidewalk project, it's recommended that the construction of the 11016 Sonia Drive speed cushion be postponed until after that portion of the road widening has been completed, but the remaining locations could be installed without any delay yet. That one right there. And staff recommends installation of asphalt speed cushions at those 4 locations.
Need a motion?
Is that your discussion?
That's it.
Discussion point. So with discussion completed, before moving on to citizen comment, may I have a motion on the floor, please?
I'm going to move to approve the recommendation to install asphalt speed cushions at 4 locations concurrently at the following approximate locations: 11306 Sonia Drive, 11214 Sonia Drive, 1134 Sonia Drive, and 11016 Sonia Drive.
But one of them is going to be postponed.
That's why I said concurrently. And I'd love to have a second so we can have a talk.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Now, Mark, at this time, do we have any persons that would like to speak?
We've
during
had
the
one.
Citizens forum?
yeah, we've had one person sign up to speak.
Okay, and if they would, I'd ask them to approach
That's
the podium.
Larry Johnson.
And Eric, yeah, thank you for staying close, because we may call you again to answer questions by the commission and staff.
Good evening. My name is Larry Johnson. I live at 11320 Sonia Drive. I've been associated with trying to get the traffic calming measures in since I've been a resident since 1997. Very pleased that we've moved forward. Appreciate the effort to adjust the policy to allow the people that are most affected by the speeding to get traffic calming installed. I think it's a very important safety consideration. Talked to a number of my neighbors, and not everybody's in agreement. Some people do not want to be inconvenienced by the cushions, feel they're an impediment, and I just ask that they appreciate the priority to make the streets safer for everyone. I wonder, will you be answering the timing on when the cushions be installed at this meeting or at a subsequent meeting?
I mean, yeah, I think we can address that question based on historical situations where we've installed these cushions as well, and maybe not an exact timeline. I mean, we'd have to work with the town engineer and staff after the Board of Mayor and Alderman, if they do indeed
It has
approve
to go to the
that.
Board of Mayor and Alderman
Right,
first.
so
gotcha.
it'll go through that process.
Yeah.
But I think we could probably give you a ballpark timeline, just based on historic reference.
After that meeting, after they review it?
Yes.
Okay, well, that was my only question. Again, thank you very much.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Larry. And with that, we'll open it up for discussion, and we'll start off with the motion from Vice Mayor Pavlin.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. I did want to point out that we did amend this policy in May, and we amended it to basically restrict it to the speed zone for people who are living or suffering with this. And it's 50% plus one of the returned ballots. And honestly, if all the ballots were returned, they'd still be at 50% plus one, because 30 ballots voted yes over the total of 52. So it's, they made that mark either way. So I would certainly support that. The reason I've asked us to consider putting this in the one at 11016 concurrently with these other three is because that is really the narrowest part of the road. It is the most dangerous portion of Sonia Drive in that it's so narrow we can't even stripe it. And so a lot of people are cutting through there, and there's no place really even the side of the road for kids to walk. It is the only location along Sonia Drive that doesn't have a trail along it. So slowing speed there is a necessity. It is not prohibitive as far as cost to put this in, and then have to take it out when we widen the road. We also have a long way to go with this whole project, because we have to obtain right-of-way from a lot of parcels. So there's no telling how long that's going to take. In the meantime, this stretch is still dealing with a lot of speeding. I think we can handle the budget of it. We can handle. It would be foolish to try to save a certain amount of money and not take the opportunity to make this stretch safer. So I'm asking for this planning commission to support all four of them being constructed at this point, and making that recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Alderman.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Pavlin. Open the floor to Vice Chairman St. Clair.
I have one question, just for clarification, to add to the discussion that Louise just had. What, if you talked about the postponement, what kind of timeline is that postponement estimated to be?
Like Louise said, Ms. Pavlin said, it's not really a definitive time frame at this point. I just know we'll end up having to tear it out and
It's just
and
not,
put
it's
it
not
back
on
in,
deck,
but-
it's basically just going back. Well, the whole cost for this is estimated at 15,000. I would think it wouldn't be, the whole thing would not be torn out, so.
No, just
So
just those two.
It's trivial amount of money increment it would be a sunk cost now versus the gain that you would have in the interim. So that's the way I would view it. Okay. Thank you.
I'll open up the floor to Commissioner Preston. And if you don't have any comments you'd like to make at this time, just say pass, please.
I mean, I agree with Louise and Ed. I think that safety surpasses whatever savings there would be, especially since we don't know when the road's going to be widened.
Correct. Thank you. Commissioner Green?
Yeah, I have a question, I guess. That section of road Commissioner Poplin says it's narrow there. Was that a part of was that one of the speed test points up through there? That section of road?
Originally it was. It was, when we did our first traffic calming, so they went back and reviewed, just did two tests to make sure that the numbers were still consistent.
Okay.
So we had done a full speed study, 3 years ago, and all of them met that mark. So they went back, once we amended the policy, they just went back and did 2 test ones to make sure that the numbers were still consistent.
Okay.
So we still have that,
'Cause
yeah,
you-
they all meet it.
You mentioned that it's narrow. Sometimes narrow roads, people don't speed on them quite so much. So
It's-
that's why I asked the question.
It's,
But if it's still an issue,
it
then.
turned it to be, it was 34.9 miles per hour, so 35 miles per
okay,
hour is the, and I'm thinking going 34.9, you're probably just about as dead as when you're hit by something going 35.
And that doesn't count the other 15%.
Yeah. Yes. So,
Yeah, I get it. Okay, thank you. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Green. Commissioner Devlin?
I certainly support putting all 4 in right away and eating whatever little cost is involved. I've driven Sonia driving a fire truck many times in the past, and certainly am excited to hear that parts of it are going to be widened. It's definitely a dangerous place. So if the traffic calming will help, I'm in support.
Thank you, Commissioner Devlin. Mayor Williams?
Yeah, we need to do it now. As soon as we can get the right-of-way, would be maybe a little bit too long as far as the, that section, which needs to be, and I guess really when you say it's too narrow, and that does slow people down, well, kids that are walking on the side of the road going to school, that's the concern, not so much that, I mean, the width right there is the danger, so I support doing it now.
Well, thank you, Mayor, and I'll agree on the accounts of my fellow commissioners. My only, I don't really have any concerns about it. I've got some questions about, the precedent too. I travel Midhurst and Red Mill essentially 2 to 6 times every day. I feel like they are effective measures for slowing the speed down. However, I've seen, people hit one of those before going into the curve, at 50 miles an hour and not even blink an eye. My question is, and this might be for the town engineer or staff, have we gone back and measured the effectiveness of installs such as the ones at Midhurst and Red Mill? Like, 6 months after we've made those installations, have we done a comparison on the effectivity of those speed cushions at any time? Daryl, can you answer that?
I don't believe that we have, but we certainly can report back.
I really think that would be beneficial, maybe not in this case, but any time in the future when we're presented with the same types of applications as part of our traffic calming system, and even perhaps put it in our traffic calming policy.
It is in there, but,
it is-
but I
it's-
will say, since we've changed the policy, they're swamped with new and we only have so many speed,
I understand.
whatever they're called, sensors, and getting them done, I mean, they're swamped. So going back and retrieving information is a nice idea, and I think it's our goal, but right now, they're just trying to keep up with all of the new applications that they have.
And I appreciate that too, and I think when time is feasible, maybe that'd be
Yes,
something
yeah,
that we might be able to go back and revisit at
And
that
I
time.
will say this, it's said often, you can't cure stupid. So most people will slow down, they'll see this traffic calming and we're minded to slow down, but there's certain people that they don't care, and there's nothing we can do for them. It's just, the vast majority of people will recognize that this is a good thing that we're slowing down, so.
Well, and one other thing I'd like to add too about the placement of the actual speed cushions too. The ones that are on Midhurst and Red Mill tend to be pretty much in the center lane, and what I've witnessed for, the last 9 months or how long they've been there is that people have their own method of getting over those humps. Some go to the middle, some weave off to the right. And the fact that on Sonia that we do have children walking, I think that should be a concern if there are pedestrians that are going to be on that road. on how to place that too. And I don't know the answer to that, and I don't know if anybody has any suggestions, but that's just what I've witnessed. More people tend to veer to the right and hit their driver's side wheel on the inside of that speed cushion, so going over to the right. That's just what I've personally witnessed. So just,
Well, at
that's
least-
my 2 cents.
At least they'll be slowing down.
They are slowing down.
So if there's pedestrians there.
totally
they'll
agree.
see 'em.
All right.
And of course, that's once that road is widening, we are adding a sidewalk in there. So
Right.
that's just an issue that's temporary, yeah.
Got it, right.
The cuts in the middle are for the fire trucks and emergency vehicles. The ones on the side, if you run it plumb to the curb, when you widen the road, I think
That'll be a deterrent,
I
yeah.
think they'll go the opposite way, so.
I tend to agree with that. With any more discussion? Lewis, please, thank you. Sorry.
Just a quick question. Why are the cushions divided? Like, why couldn't they just be?
That's
all
what
the way
we're,
across?
for emergency vehicles. Emergency vehicles have a wider
Wider wheelbase.
wheelbase than normal cars. So that when you design this, cars and regular trucks can't get over it, but the emergency vehicles can have a path forward without having to slow down to go over them as well.
they can
Yeah,
straddle
that's
that
super
section.
important because a fire truck, for example, can't just slow down. It has to completely stop to go over one of those. So that's why having the cutouts was a fantastic step forward instead of, because there in Knox County, there are some that are all the way across and they
Yeah.
will absolutely slow us completely down.
Yeah.
Good question. I didn't know
Thank
that.
you.
Good question.
Thank you for the question, Leo, I appreciate it. And thank you, Commissioners. With a motion on the floor that has been seconded, I'll now ask that we have a motion, if the motion stands as presented. And with the discussion now completed, I'll ask all in favor say yes.
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 Any noes? No noes? Let the record show that the traffic calming application on Sonia Drive in the Farragut View subdivision has been approved without subject twos unanimously with a 7-0 vote. Agenda item number 5. Four. The one before 5. Discussion in public hearing on recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen concerning another traffic calming application on Admiral Road in the Farragut View subdivision. And Eric, would you like to speak upon this one as well?
Absolutely. So the proposal that we are bringing before you all today is to place 3 sets of speed cushions on Admiral Road. In June of 2023, the town of Farragut received a petition from the residents of the speed zone requesting reconsideration of their prior request and vote, traffic calming request and vote, due to the updated traffic calming policy. There were 2 speed studies that were conducted fairly recently, the one from 2019 and then a second one from 2022, and both of those indicated excessive speeding on Admiral Road. Again, it's defined by an 85th percentile speed greater than 10 miles an hour over the posted limit. The locations from the 2019 speed study were 235 Admiral Road, 201 Admiral Road, and 133 Admiral Road. And the speeds were 42.8 miles per hour, 45.6 miles per hour, and 43.9 miles per hour, respectively. And then there was a follow-up study in 2022 at 200 Admiral Road, and it had an 85th percentile speed of 44.4 miles per hour. We held another public meeting in June of 2023 to gauge support and obtain feedback. Again, support from residents in the speed zone was overwhelmingly positive. 20 ballots were mailed out. A total of 18 ballots were received, with 14 or 77.8% of those being in favor of traffic calming devices. And starting from the northwest, I guess, portion of the picture, it's 225 Admiral Road, 205 Admiral Road, and then 139 Admiral Road. Those are the proposed locations for the installation of the speed cushions, and the staff recommends installation of asphalt speed cushions at the 3 locations discussed.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Do I have a motion on the floor to approve?
Move to approve the installation of asphalt speed cushions at 3 locations proposed by staff.
Second.
Clear. And we have a second. Mark, do we have anybody signed up to comment on the Admiral Road?
No,
Speed
not on
cushion.
this item, no.
With that, I'll open it up for discussion to the staff. Vice Mayor Pavlin?
I did want to say this because I didn't say it with the last one. This started in 2016 when I walked my neighborhoods. And I thought I had this grand message of what I was going to help the town do. And listening to people, most of them I met were struggling with speeding in their neighborhoods. And Marty Schaffner, I knocked on his door, and Marty Schaffner was kind enough to be patient with me and explain to me what the issues they were seeing on Sonia, and that at that time, the traffic calming policy did not meet, their road did not meet the standards because it was a collector. And I thought, okay, this is your neighborhood and that's not right. And so we started on this process of amending the traffic calming policy. And it took us 3 times. And the residents on Sonia have been extremely patient and stuck with me while we work through this. I'm thrilled that we're at this, I'm sad it took so long, but this is the speed of government. But we are getting a solution for the folks on Sonia. We're getting a solution for the folks on Admiral Road. We are getting sidewalks on Sonia and Admiral, and we're getting that stretch of road improved. And I'm very excited about this for those residents, those at Farragut View. I'm not sure many of you realize Farragut View is, I think, our third, maybe our second or third oldest neighborhood in the community. And so retrofitting a neighborhood of that age with a sidewalk is a big deal. And I'm just thrilled that we're seeing some changes here. And hopefully this is the beginning of resolving and providing a better quality of life for the people in that neighborhood who so deserve it. So thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'll open it up to comment for Vice Chairman St. Clair.
No additional questions or comments.
Thank you. Commissioner Preston?
Pass.
Pass. Commissioner Green?
Pass.
Commissioner Devlin?
Pass.
Mayor Williams?
Mayor Williams, yeah, the traffic calming procedure in our town has been a learning experience for us, where we can do it and where we can't do it. And of course, our town engineer has been very patient with teaching us what we needed to learn about this. So we could craft, or our staff could craft a great policy. So I'm in favor of it, yes.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no additional comments, and with a motion that has been seconded on the floor, I'll ask now if the motion stands as presented.
Yes.
With discussion now completed, I'll ask if all in favor say yes.
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 Any noes? No noes. Let the record show. Discussion public hearing for, traffic calming application on Admiral Road and Farragut View subdivision is approved, 7-0. Agenda item number 5, not number 4, number 5. Discussion and public hearing on exterior renovations associated with the conversion of the Country Inn and Suites to a La Quinta Inn at 805 North Campbell Station Road, Zone C2. OISC 3 Architects, applicant. Mark?
Yes, this particular item, involves a renovation, exterior renovation for your all's purposes, to the Country Inn and Suites on the north side of the interstate. They are converting to a La Quinta Inn, and they're doing some exterior modifications, pretty significant exterior modifications, and that's why it's coming before you all. Primarily, the big change is there's currently, this is what it's proposed to look like. I don't know if y'all have seen some of the new La Quintas. I think there's one at the Sevierville exit that I noticed. But the current building that's out there has a gabled roof. And so basically, they're going to flatten that out and have it, you have the flat roof to both the building and the overhang, the portiere, and then repaint the building, the exterior. They're also cladding part of the stucco portion of the building with some ceramic panels that will also carry those over and clad the brick columns that are over the canopy in front of the building. So that's basically the main changes. These are some of the elevations of the Country Inn and Suites from different other perspectives to give you an idea of what that looks like. The dumpster enclosure area, that was something that was discussed at the staff developer meeting. It's not being changed. None of the brick on the lower portion of the building are being modified. The only brick that's actually changing is the brick that's being sleeved with the ceramic panels on the overhang in front of the building. And so the rest of it is mostly a stucco building. So the addition of the ceramic panels, actually, which is a masonry product, increases the overall masonry composition of this particular building. So that's what's being requested. The architect for the project is here, and I think he's brought some samples if y'all want to look at those. I don't have anyone that's signed up to speak on this particular item, so.
Okay, thank you. Based on the staff information provided, I'll now need a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
And we don't have anybody signed up to speak, so if the architect is available to step up and answer any, or provide your presentation and stay at the podium in case the commission has any questions or comments. Please state your name and your address for the record.
Thank you. Jim Odell, OYSK3 Architects. We're at 1545 Western Avenue, Knoxville. Here representing a client who's wanting to update and upgrade their existing facilities and changing the brand, and also in terms of changing the brand, comply with the brand's design standards. So the recommendations for the design comes primarily from the brand, and what they would do is remove the metal roof portions that you see in the existing building, and then go back with significant detailing of the existing, raising a portion in the middle and applying ceramic panels to that as opposed to EIFS or brick, and then redoing the canopy. So we'd have new color schemes, a few new materials in terms of the higher portions and the column surrounds. Nothing changes in terms of windows, openings. The existing porch that's outside the portico share actually does get enclosed and becomes a glass atrium sort of space. I do have a board I'll pass around. This is a color panel that shows sort of the colors that were suggested by the brand. And I have one rendering here. Also have a couple of other pictures I'll pass around. This is the La Quinta in Sevierville, actually Kodak, there on the road to Sevierville. But you can see their color schemes. Theirs is a little different than what is suggested for this building, but that too is flexible, so you can take a look at that.
Okay, and while you're passing those around, I'm going to open it up to our commissioners for questions or discussion, and I'm going to lead off with Vice Mayor Pavlin.
I have none.
Thank you. Mayor Williams?
Yes, you said the brick columns would be sleeved, so the brick will stay. You're just going to wrap them with the ceramic?
That's true.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I'll pass it down. At this time, I'll ask Commissioner Preston, do you have any questions or comments?
Pass.
Pass. Commissioner Green, do you have any questions or comments?
I'll pass.
Vice Chairman St. Clair, do you have any questions or comments?
I'm not sure it's an improvement, but from a color standpoint and the metal roof, but I'll pass.
Okay. Thank you.
I got my comments.
Commissioner Devlin, do you have any questions or comments at this point?
I will add a comment. So I think one of the things that's appealing about switching to this design is it eliminates a large void space. So all of that metal roofing, all that space underneath it right now is open, and from a fire perspective, that's nice to have. You don't want that void space if you don't have to have it.
Yeah, so that's good input. Thank you. Moving on. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate your input, and good luck with the renovation if the commission decides to approve this. So with a motion on the floor that has been seconded, I'll now ask if the motion stands as presented.
Yep.
Thank you. With discussion now completed, I'll ask all in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any noes? No noes. Let the record show that hearing on exterior renovations with the conversion from Country Inn Suites to La Quinta Inn at 805 North Campbell Station Road has passed unanimously, 7-0. Thank you for your time and being here tonight. Moving on to agenda item number 6, request for approval of a variance from the distance between driveways requirements in the driveways and other access ways ordinance associated with the removal of existing access to McPhee Road that services 1006, 1008, 1010 McPhee Road, and the addition of a new access to service the same address, same 3 lots, roughly 163 feet north of the access to be removed. The proposed access would be 153 feet south of the Scarlet Sage Drive in the Meadows on McPhee subdivision, resulting in a variance request of 247 feet. Kevin Robson, applicant. Mark?
Yeah, this particular request involves access-related requests from 3 property owners that are part of the Chantilly Acres subdivision. That is a subdivision that was platted with 6 individual lots that each fronted directly on McPhee Road. But because McPhee Road is a minor arterial, the new accesses are required to be 400 feet apart. So when this subdivision was platted, we required access easements as part of that plat, and the 2 northern lots shared that particular access. Let me see if I can, probably shows up better on this. So here, these are the 2 northernmost lots, and they share this access point. And then the 4 southern lots were all to share this existing access point. The other 2 accesses, this one and this one, were removed as part of that plat. So the reason that we have shared access, particularly on roads like this and where we have trails or sidewalks that parallel the roads, is fewer conflict points and also spacing the accesses out. It's just a safer situation, and it also limits the number of crossings that you have with vehicles and pedestrians or bicyclists, and those type of conflicts that can create. So since the Chantilly Acres plat originally occurred, the 2 southernmost lots were actually purchased by one property owner, and also on the west side of McPhee Road there was a new subdivision that came in, the Meadows on McPhee, and due to topography and site distance and some existing utility pole placements, they requested variances on their accesses. and established access points that were not within 400 feet of the two access points that were platted for Chantilly Acres. So I just mentioned this to illustrate the fact that the two access points that are out there now for Chantilly Acres are not compliant with our access ordinance, and it's not their fault. It's because of circumstances that has happened on the other side of McPhee Road. What they're requesting is basically not a new access per se, or an additional access, but they're requesting to remove the access here. That was the platted access easement for the now three lots in this part of Chantilly Acres, and well, actually this one too. And then have the new access point be more centered for the three residents that use that access point. That basically there was a description in the application materials of their rationale for the access, but the access in its current location creates some issues with turning radiuses and delivery vehicles, mail delivery. And then the gentleman that has this property here also has a landscape business and a trailer that's hard to maneuver across this access easement. It's a pretty far distance since these two lots are now combined. Having the access easement on the far southern end is not as convenient for the now three houses that would use, the relocated access to the north. This access, of course, is within the 400 feet of the access points on the west side of McPhee Road, and also the access easement that serves the two northernmost lots in Chantilly Acres. So that's why the variance request would have to be considered for your all's recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. Staff, including the town engineer, have looked at this. There's good enough site distance with the proposed relocation. It also is, as I mentioned earlier, more centered with the three properties that use that particular access. And it's really the only three properties that will ever use the access. Those properties are not gonna be connected to properties around them where there's gonna be more traffic coming to that access point. So it's, not a lot of trips we're talking about as far as trip generation, maybe 30 a day. I would say if the access variance is approved, of course, it has to go to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. And then ultimately the plat itself, if the board approves it, will have to be modified to change those access easements to reflect the requested new location for the access. So that's kind of an overview of what they're requesting, and we did talk about this quite a bit at the staff developer meeting. But the applicant, I think, is here, and I do have one of the applicants that signed up to speak, and so that's basically an overview of what their request is.
Move to approve with the subject twos.
Second.
And Mark, you said we did have somebody signed up to
Yeah, it's
to
actually one
speak.
of the
It's
three
the
property owners.
the applicant? Okay.
One of the
very
three
good. If you-
property owners. So who was the
Yes,
second on that?
Vice Chairman St. Clair, you
They have-
second?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was
Yes, sir.
Kyle Lawrence, Amit NASCAR, and Kevin Robson are
Robson,
the applicants.
Right. Yeah.
Or the homeowners, I should say.
I've had Amit Naskar has signed up to speak.
Mr. Robson?
Oh, you're the applicant, you kind of,
Yeah, if
Oh,
you
really
could.
have to
Yeah,
sign
if you
up?
could.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, no worries.
I'm speaking on, yeah.
You're coming in as a dual role here, so if you
No
would,
problem.
please. Yeah.
My name's Kevin Robson. I live at 1010 McPhee Road. And that would be the two south lots that were combined on there. So I'm not going to, as far as what Mark had said, I mean, he put a lot of good points out there. Just I want to reiterate a couple things, especially being a firefighter. I mean, one of the things that I've lived there for about almost 3 years right now, so I was one of the first ones in there. The one that's north, which is Kyle Lawrence's, it was an older gentleman that lived there, so really didn't have a lot of traffic. And Amit, who will speak here next, was building his home for a good solid 2 years. I was really technically the only one living in there, so it wasn't really that much of an issue. But the biggest problem overall is that, number one, safety. Even if we widen the existing one as much as we can, getting a fire truck in there, if there was a need for that to go left and go up, it's almost impossible to do that. I mean, even if we tore down the road and widened it more, we looked at it several different ways, and whether you go south or north on that. And so with that easement road that is right with there, it's just physically impossible to do that. And then, of course, with delivery trucks and so forth, I don't think it's where they would have to stop on McPhee Road, and that would cause, I think, concerns to traffic and also safety issues as well. Me living there, I had to do that quite a bit. Even with FedEx can't even get in there. They have to park partially on the road, and that's the same thing. As he mentioned, Kyle, he has a landscaping business, and even if somebody had a motor home in there, they just could not get in there. And that's why when we proposed this, because we can't have two accesses, but we can only have one, we thought that it would be much better this way, because even with Amit's, where he has that right there, he has to walk all the way down. They don't even have access to get to the road to check their mail or take out their trash. So for us proposing this, and it's easier for all of us, all three of us, to access our homes, one, and then two, for safety as well. So if we had to have a fire truck or ambulance come in that have easy accessibility, because as you can see in the far bottom, even if they went to my house, they can actually turn around in that. I actually put a big cement parking little area over there, so you can literally do a turn in and turn around easily without having to back up and everything. I did propose in there as well that I'm willing to even, of course, I'm going to be paying for the driveway. For the new driveway to be put in. I guess the only question is cutting out the curb itself. I don't know how that would work or anything, but whatever needs to get done. So, but I just wanted to address that, and that was the whole purpose of putting this together. And we just all want to make sure that we're safe and we can have delivery trucks, and God forbid if we need a fire truck to come, they can get in.
Robson, this wasn't a controversy to us at the
Okay.
staff developer. Our only concern was that all three of you were in agreement. Otherwise, it seemed to us that it's a rational thing to do and a reasonable thing to do, as long as all the homeowners were in agreement. So that was our only concern.
Yeah, and I'll let Amit speak as well, because we want to be respectful of all of our religions and so forth, and we wanted to make sure that when we put this in, that obviously we can't have it go much more south because of certain things, but I'll let Amit speak as well. So I appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Kevin, are you able to stay up here? Because I'm going to open it up the floor in case there are any
Sure.
further questions or comments. You're free to please come up to the podium and give us your name and address.
Good evening. Thank you, everyone. I'm Amit Noskar. I am in 1008 McPhee Road at the center. So, yes, exactly that one. We were communicating, and I just wanted to present another situation to all of you, and Kevin is considerate. My wife has progressive MS. So, so my suggestion, also religious purpose he mentioned about Kevin, that's why I wanted to keep it that way. I would request, if it is possible, even move little north towards 1006. That would be good, because the road creates, from McPhee Park towards the Boyd Station road is going down, and that one is very high, so it will create a slope. So, and that's what, and I'm sorry, we didn't communicate that well earlier. So I would suggest, even if we are putting a single entrance, if it is pushed a little bit towards Kyle's side, that would minimize it, because Kyle's existing, there was original two driveways. That one is kind of flat to the surface. So So that would be easy to access for all of us.
Just clarity, you would like to see it repositioned a little further north than it's currently shown, if
Right,
possible?
that's what, if possible.
That would be, because this
About
has to go
right
to the Board
there.
of Mayor and Aldermen anyway.
Yeah.
So that's if that's a possibility, we can discuss that with the engineer before final approval about that location. But again, we want to make sure that all three of you guys are on board with, all three of the property owners are on board with that. That's, to us, it's you know, you moving here or moving it there it's an access point, and it's three houses, and it's not putting a lot of traffic on that road. So the access point just needs to make sense from a line of sight issue, and that's an engineering question more than anything. So as long as you guys are fine and the engineer's fine, I don't see how we have a problem. I certainly don't see how we'll have a problem at the Board, Mayor, and Alderman. It's just making sure that all of those things are aligned, so.
Thank you so much. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, may I retain the floor?
I'm fine. I
You good?
think I've said everything. Appreciate that.
Vice Chairman St. Clair.
My question would be, is anybody here from the third lot house? Because
Mr. Lawrence,
I'd like to hear maybe,
are you okay with everything
Are you-
that we're,
if that's shifted north to more,
fine with whatever.
okay?
so if it shifts north,
It's easy going long as I can get home, the trailers and whatnot as I move back and forth.
so if it were to shift a little,
And I don't like the placement of it, just because I'm always feel like I'm pulling right into his, you know, living room.
Yes,
As I'm
I understand
turning
that.
up, and then late summer, headlights shining in his windows like a, you know, I don't care where it goes as long as I can get in without an issue.
so it would shift a little north toward your, that's fine with you. So the engineers can look at it, okay. I have nothing else.
Very good. Thank you, Vice Chairman. I'd like to hear from Commissioner Devlin.
Yeah, sure. So just for the record, if there's a fire in one of these houses, we're probably parking on McPhee, just to check that box. But certainly, ambulances, there are a lot of situations where I see your point. I actually drove by here yesterday, got out and kind of scoped it out. I thought it was super janky, to be honest with you. So I'm definitely in support of this. This seems to make a ton of sense
Is
to
that a
me.
technical term?
Janky,
Janky.
yes.
Yeah, right that
It's-
way.
I think Shipley taught me that word.
Oh, I've never heard that. We don't say that in Greene County. I don't know what that is.
Thank you, Commissioner Devlin. Commissioner Preston, do you have any comments?
I don't have any comment. I mean, yes, the topography, I can see the access shifting north, so I definitely think that's, I would be in favor of working with the town engineer to see the best place for that.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Commissioner Green?
Yeah, do I understand that all three of you now agree with the change?
Yes.
You- Okay, everybody's good with that. Okay. I have no other comment.
All right, thank you. Mayor Williams?
I don't have any comments. I agree that due to the topo, I think moving it slightly to the north would be a better fit. We don't have a topo map here to look at, but I did go out there as well, and it does, it would be better. So that's all I've got.
I don't really have any comments to add either at this time. I mean, just looking at it too, it seems like it is beneficial for everybody involved with it and for safety reasons as well. With a motion on the floor that's been seconded, I'll now ask if the motion stands. Vice Mayor Povlin?
Yes.
With discussion now completed, I ask all in favor say yes.
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 Noes? No noes? Let the record show. Request for approval of variance from the distance between driveways requirements, driveways and other access ways ordinance associated with removal of existing access to McPhee Road that services 1006, 1008, 1010 McPhee Road, and the addition of new access to service the same three lots roughly 163 feet north of the access to be removed, maybe further north. The proposed access will be 153 feet south of Scarlet Sage Drive and Meadows on McPhee, resulting in a variance of 247 feet. Let the record show.
Can we?
Motion
can I-
has-
you know
It'll be
what? Can I-
different. I mean, I think
Can I
I'm
amend
gonna
the
give them
motion?
some
I'm
guidance on
realizing that.
this.
Can I amend the motion to say,
I'll allow.
thank you, remove those details and say,
Dimensions won't be the same. Yep.
Dimensions won't be the same.
No.
Request for approval of a variance from distance between driveway requirements for those addresses, new access service as determined by the town engineer
And applicants.
and applicants. How about that? Who seconded my motion?
I did.
So go ahead.
I second that.
We have a second. With an amended motion that has been seconded on the floor, I'll now ask if the motion stands
Yes,
as amended.
yes.
With discussion now completed, I ask all in favor say yes.
Yes.
Noes? No noes. Let the record show. Motion is approved, amended, 7-0 unanimously.
But Chairman, one thing, just to give them some guidance, before this goes to the Board of Mayor and Alderman, we'll probably coordinate a meeting with you all and the town engineer, and then revise your layout plan so that what everybody agrees to is what we present to the board.
Yeah.
So we'll have to do that real quick and just make sure we're all on the same page and update that. You'll have to get a right-of-way permit anyway for, you mentioned earlier about taking out the old driveway and the walking trail and section, and making any repairs and curb removals and things, and that'll all be coordinated with town engineering department with right-of-way permit, so. But, yeah, that's what I would advise before this comes back to the Board of Mayor and Alderman, to have that ready.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 7, discussion on a request to amend the Farragut zoning ordinance to address buffer strip requirements where an adjacent property is shown as non-residential on the future land use map. Shod Companies applicant. Mark?
This item came about really from a discussion from last month's Planning Commission meeting. There was a staff comment on a site plan that was under review for a grocery store at North Watt Road and Kingston Pike. Specifically, that particular site plan showed some grading and delivery truck access pavement within a 35-foot landscape buffer strip that's required to be on the grocery store property because it's zoned commercial. Where it abuts there is a property that this project abuts that's currently zoned rural residential R1. So we talked about if the layout could be amended. Applicants looked at that, and apparently they haven't been able to amend it to stay out of the buffer. So the staff had the comment that this encroachment was not permitted because it's not provided for in the ordinance currently. And we advised against trying to request a variance because the Board of Zoning Appeals has very strict parameters within which they can consider a variance approval. And, if basically there's not a reasonable way to amend the site plan, then the other option would be to request a text amendment. So the property that's zoned R1, and I don't have that on the screen because to me it's not relevant to what we're talking about because this is a text amendment. It fronts on North Watt Road, and it's bordered by commercial zone property to the west and the south, and then Mayor Bob Leonard Park to the north. When we had our community workshop with the Watt Road corridor a couple years ago, and we made amendments to the future land use map based on the community's input, some of the properties, including this one, that abut the Mayor Bob Leonard Park were added with the Parks and Recreation land use. That particular property before that designation was actually medium-density residential, which is at that time kind of a multifamily residential. So given the property's future land use designation is non-residential, its location on a major arterial road like North Watt Road, and the fact that it's surrounded by otherwise commercial zone property, the likelihood of that continuing it to be residential is pretty slim in the future. So a question was raised as part of this discussion as to whether the buffer requirements could be somehow tied to the future land use map designation or give some consideration to the context so that what would be required for a project would be evaluated as to whether it's necessary based on what is likely to happen in the future. So planning commissioners, did kind of have favorable reaction to that. And the applicant did apply for a text amendment. Staff, when we got that application, we looked at the buffer requirements in the C1 zoning district in particular. And the current language that applies to buffer strips is at the top of the screen there. And basically there's a 35-foot buffer strip where a commercial property abuts a property that's zoned residential or agriculture. And just for discussion purposes, and we talked about this at the staff developer meeting, staff had added some possible language in there just for discussion purposes in red that basically says unless, you got the buffer strip unless such property is shown as non-residential land use on the adopted future land use map. In this case, the Planning Commission may consider a modification to the buffer strip based on the surrounding built environment and context. This may include whether the property is adjacent to a major arterial street or surrounded by non-residential development. So it doesn't waive the buffer strip requirement, but it gives the Planning Commission the ability to look at their future vision maps and kind of the surrounding plan of development to determine what is logical and reasonable, and whether or to the extent in which a buffer strip based on that evaluation would be appropriate. So that's kind of what this is about, this particular item. We had a pretty good discussion at the staff developer meeting. I think there was generally pretty satisfied with the language because I didn't want to eliminate the buffer strip. I wanted to give the Planning Commission the ability to evaluate these circumstances and determine whether it makes sense based on the circumstances. So, and there's really not a lot of properties that this would affect. This may be, frankly, the only one. It's the only one that I found just initially in looking at the future land use map, so it's not like it's going to be a continuing problem. So that's kind of an overview of this item. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer those.
Well, thank you, Mark, and based on staff information, first, we'll need a motion.
No, this is just
It's
discussion.
just a discussion.
Bad
Yeah.
on that one. Oh, that's to move on. Well, we'll open it up for discussion.
Well, to me, this looks very reasonable based on, we all know the case that this grows out of. And when there's a very high likelihood, probability that that surrounding piece of property is going to turn commercial, it makes, very much planning sense to do what's prudent. And I think that's, this wording does that for me.
Yeah, it gives us the flexibility that we need to make those, to plan, without certainly waiving it altogether. It just gives us that ability to plan. Do we have any, we don't have any, do we have any public forum?
I didn't have anyone sign up for this. No.
I have another comment.
Yeah. Commissioner Green, please.
Yeah, the current says zone residential or agriculture, and the exception says non-residential without referencing agricultural. Shouldn't we say non-residential or agricultural land use adopted, unadopted?
Well, agricultural could be residential. It has a residential use in it.
What?
Agricultural has a residential use in it. Our agricultural zone has residential use in it.
But suppose it's not. Suppose it's purely agricultural is what I'm saying. And we want to apply this same flexibility to something that's purely agriculture.
It's fine, I think we're getting in the weeds, but
That agriculture could turn very quickly into, if it's big enough, to be residential.
Yeah, most of the agriculture, somebody has a house that they live in, that
House
they
or
farm,
Family houses or.
Okay.
that would be. But we do have more potential properties. I just can't, like Mark, I can't think of one that would exactly fit that.
Not where it's commercial. Usually agricultural is not in an area where there's commercial zoning, so it's not usually a buffer problem. And there's not a lot of agricultural left, actually. Most of them are open space cluster
Yeah.
as far as the land use now.
Do we have any, would the applicant like to open up or participate in this discussion? We didn't forget about you.
My name's Bud Cullum, 6312 Kingston Pike. I'm representing the Schad family with the development with the grocery store. I really came up here mainly just to see if anyone had any questions. We did spend a lot of effort trying to figure out how to make the site plan work with the 35-foot buffer. The owner of the property that's the residential property, one of the representatives is here, and I'm certainly willing to give her some of my time, even though you didn't sign up. We've been in many discussions. I think we'll ultimately work it out, but I want to tip my hat to Mark for coming up with the language, because I said this at the staff developer, and I'll say it again. I think it gives the commission a tool. It doesn't take away the teeth necessarily of the ordinance, but it gives a tool in a unique situation, and it still has to come before this board or panel for approval, and that's not guaranteed. So I think honestly, I think that we're probably, in this particular case, going to end up being having a situation where this maybe is not absolutely necessary. I don't know yet. Debbie and I may have another discussion in a little bit, but going forward, the way Mark has it worded, I would recommend it even if I didn't have a dog in this hunt. So I'll stay here if anyone has any questions. No, okay. Even with what she says, I still think that it's a good thing to go forward with, but it's not my job. So
Thank you, Bud. Commissioner Devlin? Commissioner Preston?
Pass.
I think we've heard from just about everybody else. Is there any other commissioners who'd like to make any comments at this time? All right. Thank you, Bud. Thank you. Appreciate it. Moving on. Mark, do we have any utilities this evening?
No, sir.
No utilities? Do we have anybody remaining signed up for citizen comment?
No, sir.
With that said, September 21st, 2023 Farragut Municipal Planning Commission is adjourned. The time is 8:08.
Yay!